And if you have an agenda, we want to talk about all the live, well, some of the live things that are possible when you're at an incident, or even if you're working on certain portions of project work. The reason for having live, like someone just mentioned about maps, whether it's updated or if you're getting something stagnant, is that what we're looking for, both with our internal audience and our external audience, is that we're all looking at the same thing, right? That we all have, and we call it the common operating picture. Some of you, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that term. A lot of the public has not heard that term. A common operating picture means I can work on a fire and post things to a map and you can see the same map, or if that's what it is. Even Google Drive and working on documents. That's a document-based common operating picture. We're all working on the same document, which reminds me, while I'm thinking about it, a good use for Google Drive, if you're on an incident or working on something, my team uses Google Drive to work on the transition or narrative, fire narrative. Here's the old-fashioned way. I write my paragraph, and then I put it on a jump drive, and I walk it over to the plans guy who's building the transition plan. I hand him, he downloads it, he imports it into the document. We don't have to do that anymore. And every one member of the team does that. Instead of doing that, we start a document. He puts all the headlines in it. You all have your section. I go work on mine. When I'm working on mine, I can edit everybody else's. I can look and see if everything's flowing together. I make sure we're all using the same typeface. And when we're done entering, the document's done. Nobody has to build it, and we can all edit and read the whole document together. That is a common operating picture for a writing project. We're all seeing the same thing. So that common operating picture, sometimes doing things live is a way we develop a common operating picture for the public. For instance, we do a lot of stuff with Google Earth. We use Google Earth as the platform for building a common operating picture. They have it in Texas, they have it in the Southeast, they probably have it up here. Most regions now have a Google Earth-based map common operating picture. Many do. I won't say most. Many do. We use those. They build it on the fire. What happens is if we build it on the fire or in a region, we use their map. The Washington office, the headquarters offices of whoever can see the map and understand more. Senators, congressional people can understand what's going on. We're all looking at the same map. I don't send you a map, and by the time you get it and look at it, it's 3 days old. When it's live, we're all seeing the same thing. And as it's updated, you're seeing the most current information, and that's what's important. We use those kind of live maps in public meetings. We build a Google Earth map, and then we have somebody better than me who operates the Google Earth map and drives what we call driving. And we have place-based videos. We have the perimeters. We can go in on the map with the public there, and they say, well, how far is it from my house? We say, where's your house? They say, well, my house is right there. And then we draw a line with a ruler between their house and the edge of the fire and go, it's 27 miles. They're like, oh, I thought it was a lot closer. You know, we can do a lot of things. We can fly them around the perimeter of the fire, and wherever there's a video, they dive in and watch the video, what it looks like in that location. We come back out, keep going around the perimeter, we dive into another video or photos and show them what it looks like. We can even have people, we have had a person sitting on a mountaintop who has a cell signal with a netbook and a photo, pull in live from where he's sitting and show everybody looking around from where he is on XYZ mountain of what it's like there. Live is, you really have to get to know a little about live tools, because they're becoming the way we show you what's happening. Remember that instantaneous news need? That's how we're able to show you what's happening right now. It's not that difficult. I mean, we're using it here, okay? Now, I will say this, there are limitations, obviously. We had limitations the other day. There are power limitations. Do you have power where you are and off on an incident? That's an issue. There are internet limitations. And we have discussed yesterday when talking about radios that, you know, there's a lot of things we could do. Real-time information about fire, great, but he can barely get his radio to work with a repeater, much less have a cell service. So there are limitations to this. I have experimented with this kind of live streaming, started in Pagosa Springs several years ago, when my intent was I wanted to live stream a public meeting. I wanted people who couldn't come to the public meeting to be able to attend the public meeting. But I didn't want to experiment on a public meeting. I wanted to experiment on something else, and the something else turned into be a thing in itself. I started streaming a morning briefing. And as simple as, here's my laptop, picked up my laptop, or your phone. I didn't have a phone with a camera at the time. I had a BlackBerry. But so I picked up my laptop and I put my MiFi in the pocket of my fire shirt, and I walked up at morning briefing and I stood about this far away, turned my laptop around, tried to make sure the lid and camera was facing so they actually, and hit broadcast and record. And I just stood there, picked up the sound, videotaped, streamed the whole thing. I thought, well, that was not very hard. I mean, it was free. Now, the downside of the free channel is every once in a while an ad would pop through the channel. So after we did it a little bit, the forest supervisor and some county commissioners who had an hour or two drive to come to the morning briefing at 6 a.m., I said, they said, we're going to watch it on there. So now the commissioners and the forest soup didn't have to make the drive to come to morning briefing, unless they wanted to, wanted more than just to see it, and if they wanted a presence, they could come, but they didn't have to if they were busy, especially the county commissioners. And then somebody had, I think it was Bree, had a microphone that was like 20 feet long. Oh, that's good, because now we can move a little farther back in the crowd. I don't have to stand 5 feet from him to get sound. We did that. Then we bought a little $20 webcam. Oh, well, now we can have a real webcam instead of have to use, because the nice thing was I could turn my computer around and hang the webcam this way so I could actually see what I was shooting, because I couldn't see the other way. All of this were in maybe 35 bucks. I mean, this was not a massive expenditure. Since then, we have taken this to new levels, as you can see by the equipment we have here. Having wireless microphones helps instead of having the giant wire. It helps having wireless if you have more than one speaker. It helps having a mixing board if you need to put more than one microphone into one area. So you can get more complicated, but I guarantee you if you want to just try it and learn, hold your laptop or your phone up. And I know that Shannon with the PNW 3 team, she's an early adopter, and she tried on her team and relatively easily used her iPad to just stand there in the morning and film the morning briefing. And the easy way to solve the sound at a morning briefing is you usually have, in fact, it's a very small briefing that doesn't have it, in which case you don't have the problem anyway, but stand by the speaker. I don't have to stand up front. If I don't have a microphone, as long as I'm near the speaker and I stand with my iPad, we can hear the whole thing. The other option that we do is stand near the front if you have a wireless, and we used to just tape the microphone to the speaker, tape the wireless receiver to the speaker. You get perfect sound. Then I can walk over here and I can film from the center and do whatever I want. It's relatively simple to use. It's free if you don't mind the ads. If you don't want the ads, and this in Colorado, we convinced the forest soup to, we said for 99 bucks, you get a month of ad-free. If we're going to be here for 2 weeks broadcasting these every day, Brent always gives me the reference to, what's it cost to fly a tanker load? And is 99 bucks really going to, is it worth it for what we're able to accomplish with it? He thought yes, and so we can charge it to the fire the 99, and they got ad-free, and they liked that better because when the ad comes through, it cuts off. It's not just an ad at the bottom; it cuts off the video. You have to watch the ad, and then the video comes back on. So, but you can practice for free, and just and it's fine for things like practicing till you decide it's a tool that might be useful to you. So. Anyway, that's all I wanted. The live streaming actual tool is just one service. I don't want to say you have to use, there are other live stream kinds of tools, and you could use whichever one works for you. I'm trying to think.
So the tool we're using today is Ustream. Livestream is another tool that you could use.
Yeah, the name.
We showed you Google yesterday. Google Hangouts is another tool that you could use to live stream. There's a number of different options out there.
So we're going to also talk here about other live options.
So let's say that you maybe aren't ready to do live streaming, but perhaps there's what you can do is live tweet. So you can have somebody sit in the back of your meeting and start typing on their computer or their iPad or even their phone if necessary, and they can live tweet what's happening. What that means is they're taking what whoever's up front is saying, quickly trying to transition it into text, maybe a couple of photos to go along with the text, and they're keeping the people who are on their phones only informed. Now, there's nothing to say that if you live stream, you can't also live tweet if you have enough manpower to handle that. Because again, why are we doing that? We're taking the message to where the people already are. So at the briefing, the message is being sent to the people in the room. The live streaming is being sent to the forest soups or whoever else is watching on the internet. The live tweets are going to those people who maybe just have enough data connection to get the tweets on their phones as a text or something. Couple things that you want to keep in mind if you're live tweeting. prepare ahead of time. You want to make sure you kind of know what people are going to say, what they're going to talk about. If you have talking points, I like to have those talking points up on my computer already drafted so that when somebody hits that talking point, I copy and paste that over to Twitter and say, bam, this was just said. If the people that are on stage, if there's other agencies involved, I want to find out what their Twitter handle is. So while I'm live tweeting, instead of writing out the Pike San Isabel and Comanche National Grassland Forest, whatever that long name is, that's forest supervisor just said. Instead, I can say their Twitter handle, which is all of like 6 characters, just said. And so you do a little prep work ahead of time. It's going to make you able to stay up to speed. When you live tweet, you have to be ready to work fast. You have to have somebody who's typing fast, who's working fast, who's able to work in a very quick environment, who's able to make quick judgments as to when you tweet, the wording of what you send out matters. And when you're live tweeting, you have to make sure you're making quick judgment calls. So you really need to be trusting who's behind that computer or that iPad when you're live tweeting. The next thing down from live tweeting on an incident is having a Twitter chat with other people. And we're going to go into this today, and we're actually going to spend the last 10 minutes that we have on this session doing a Twitter chat together in this room and with the people that are on virtually. What a Twitter chat is, and it could be done on Facebook or any other platform really, but it really works well on Twitter, is you have somebody hosting the chat. So in this case, that person hosting the chat is going to be our SMEM Training 15 Twitter account. And that person or account is asking questions, and then the people that are around watching are participating. They're responding to the questions. A couple things, this is really what works really well, not only on an incident, but for preparedness messaging. If you want to have a Twitter chat on how to prepare for wildfire, or how to put your go bag together, or whatever the topic is, a couple things you might want to do is find other community partners, other agencies that can participate on that chat. So when you go live with your Twitter chat, if for some reason, if the public isn't responding, you can at least have other agencies chiming in and giving some answers to kind of get the conversation going. Once you've kind of greased the skids a little bit, got the conversation started, you'll start to see other people from the community saying, oh, this is a legit thing, and they'll start asking questions. The next thing you need to do is when they start asking questions and providing input, you need to respond to that input. Say, hey, that's a great point, or person XYZ just said this, what do you think? And you're responding back and forth. So you're not just pushing information, you're receiving it back. To demonstrate some of this, I'm going to pull up a link to a Storify. We're going to learn how to create one of these later today. Storify is a tool where you can take content from Twitter and Facebook and other applications and pull it in. And in this specific case, this is a documentation of a Preparathon Twitter chat. So this was hosted by the Preparathon groups. And this is their Twitter account right here. Each one of these squares is a separate tweet. And so this is kind of an archive of their chat. So just for demonstration purposes, I'll scroll through a little of this. So what did they do? They started off, well before this, they started off by advertising about this. Say, on this date and this time, we're going to have a Twitter chat. Make sure you put it on your schedule. Come join us. That type of thing. You can see here that they worked ahead of time. They have a standard hashtag that they're using. I should have mentioned that earlier. When you're doing a Twitter chat, it's crucial to have a hashtag because that's what's bringing everybody together. Everyone's talking together on that tag, and that's how you follow what's going on. So we have a hashtag here. They've worked ahead of time to set up. There's 2 individuals who are actually going to lead this chat. And so you'll see their names show up. This is their usernames. And then you start seeing, right now they start saying, okay, who's going to be here? The chat is starting. And you'll start seeing all of these accounts are chiming in. We're excited to join. Here's one of the people that's hosting. Make sure you use the hashtag Preparathon. So making the Twitter chat really relies on that hashtag. And you can see all these different accounts of people that jumped in. And all these accounts are jumping in because they knew ahead of time. We hope today's discussion will prompt you to do this. If we get further down, let's scroll fast. Apologies for the online people. Scroll down, let's see to the point where they actually start asking questions. All right, here's the first question, or one of the questions. Tell us about your preparedness event. It's a wide open question. And people start talking in. Here's an example. We like your map your neighborhood. People are responding to questions and answers. What kind of events have you held in support of these topics? So what this is somebody answered and said that they're doing something on some topic, and the host engaged them in further and said, that's great. What else are you doing? So you're engaging in a back and forth. This link to this Storify is in that cool links document. So if you want an example, you can come back and refer to this. I'm not going to spend any more time on this reference because I want us to practice it. So I want to make sure that you guys all get into your Twitter accounts, whatever they are. We're going to be doing for the next 10 minutes, we're going to have a Twitter chat. And the hashtag that we are going to be tweeting on is, you guessed it, SMEM Training 15. So I'm going to start off and say, welcome to the SMEM Training 15 Twitter chat. We will share 5 questions. Please answer using hashtag SMEM Training 15. What I'm trying to say is make sure that when you respond, you guys aren't seeing any of this. How about now? There we go. My apologies.
Where did you even start that off?
I went to twitter.com.
To your account?
I'm going to slow down again. I went to twitter.com. I am already logged in. I just went up here to start a post. And because I already started the post over on that screen, it just popped in over here. So that's all I've done so far. Please answer using this tag. Now, something else to keep in mind, when you're doing a Twitter chat, it can get really confusing depending on how many questions you ask and when you ask them. So you might consider planning ahead of time to space your questions out. So, and you could even use a tool like Hootsuite, which we'll show you later, to schedule those tweets. So you could schedule your questions to pop out every 5 minutes, every half hour, every 15 minutes, whatever it is. And then instead of actually having to spend your time writing the questions, you can spend your time watching people's responses and engaging with them back and forth. For today's training, I have not thought ahead, so I have not scheduled my tweets, but I have done enough preparations so that in my exercise checklist that I put together earlier, I have 5 questions that I'm going to ask. So this, let it catch up to my brain here. So now that I've planned this out, throughout the next 10 minutes, probably at about every 2 minutes, I'm going to take one of these questions that I've already pre-written. I'm going to copy it over. I'm going to jump over back to my Twitter screen, maybe, and I will copy that in here. So I'm going to go ahead and fire this off. And here comes the first question. If you are participating virtually in SMEM training, where are you participating from in class? Where is home for you? So I want you to respond to this. Notice I put question 1 here. That's one of the ways that you can try to organize things, and hopefully people will see that question 1. I'm going to send that out. So here's the tweet. Now I want you to respond to that. I'll demonstrate. I'm going to go to a different window and log in as a different Twitter account.
This is so he can look at it from an outside viewpoint, you see different things when you're in the account than you do when you're a public person.
Okay, so now I am not hosting this account. Now I'm pretending I'm someone who's participating. Look, that tweet is already up here because I'm following this account. If I wasn't following this account and I wanted to participate, in this discussion, you don't have to follow me. You just go search for that hashtag, because again, a Twitter chat is centered on the hashtag. So I type in that hashtag up here. Where is that tweet? It's not showing up here because I'm in the top section. No, only the most popular stuff is showing right now. I want to hit the all. Here's that first question. I'm going to respond to this.
As a private individual, he's a public person.
Responding as my private individual now. Notice how it just pops in here. If I respond to this right here and put all my text at the end, it's coming as a reply. So it's really only going to be seen by this Twitter account. I want it to be seen by the public. We talked about this on day 1. So I'm going to put all my content in the front. I'm going to organize it and say answer 1. I am from Colorado, but I am actually teaching in Portland,
Maine. There are many Portlands.
Maine. There we go. And how about I do one better? I'm going to add my location right there. Notice, however, that the hashtag isn't on here. So this Twitter conversation really relies on that hashtag. So I need to make sure I add that hashtag back in here so that other people can still see it. If I didn't care for other people to see my answer, then I don't need to add that hashtag back in there. There you go. So I've responded to that. Stick with me. I'm going to switch back to the hosting Twitter account now. Maybe. Okay, so now I'm back into my other screen. Look at that. Let's open it up in a bigger view. Here's the original question I asked. Here's some responses. So Sean in the back of the room responded. He just chose to do a direct reply. Okay, so I'm going to see that, but no one else is because there's no hashtag in here. But that's okay because I can see it. And here's the reply that I sent. Answer question 1, answer 1. Okay, so I want you to practice that. And I'm going to start firing off the other 4 questions, and I want you to try to stick with me.
Somebody favorited it, did it. Now think about this, and I'm the applications person, so imagine how are you going to apply this in a real life situation. I would say, think about if you were a prevention team and you're working in a neighborhood and you want to engage the audience in your neighborhood in your prevention efforts. So you have sort of a contest, you come up with, of the 5 houses showing on our map, that show you, the Google map, you put the link in so they can see it. Which one do you vote for as the nicest fire-wise property? I don't know, you just make up your question. Or what's the number one thing that you've done on the cheapest but best result of the one you're doing on your house? And so you kind of have a contest. And you can use these kind of questions and a Twitter chat to do that. I'm suggesting that an incident, I don't know that it's really appropriate to have contests on incidents. I think people think you ought to be doing something more important than asking us funny questions, because remember, there's always somebody not having a good day on your incident. So, but for project work and for other kinds of things, it's one way to do it.
Okay, so I went ahead and normally you would space your questions out, but for the sake of this truncated exercise, I've just asked those 5 questions real quick. What time do we come back here?
9. Well, we go at 9. We end at 9.
Which is about now, and then we come back at, we take so we come back at 10:15.
No, right here.
Yeah, but we come back at 10:15 for the next piece, right?
Oh no. We have to be.
Oh.
We weren't doing any.
Oh, yes, okay. So,
Keep doing it throughout class, is what you're
yeah, we are actually not taking a break right now. We're going to be going into the next module. So you have all of 5 minutes to continue this exercise. But in reality, you can respond to these questions throughout the day, and we'll be trying to take a look back and engaging with you throughout the day as well. With the next 5 minutes that I have, I will show you one tool. Let's say that you were at a conference or someplace, an educational tool, and you were having this Twitter chat and you wanted to better engage the people who are actually in the room, like you guys. You can use a tool like Twitterfall to broadcast what other people are sharing. So I typed in twitterfall.com. I'm gonna sign in with Twitter here. It's gonna ask me to authorize the app. I'm saying sure. Then it gives you a kind of a screen here, and it asks you, what do you want to show? And I'm going to go over to the search bar and say, I want to show my hashtag. And I'm going to add that.
You see why coming up with your hashtag early is important, because you use that hashtag for everything you do.
Now people's tweets again and their responses to what I've asked are going to show up over here. I'm going to go ahead and switch to what's called presentation mode. I'm going to give this a title called SM.
I responded to one up there.
It'll show up eventually.
Oh, you did?
Look at them all coming in.
So a good, healthy chat, you're going to get conversations like this. And this is why, if you're planning a chat, you want to plan ahead to have agencies participating. So if the public is kind of hesitant as to whether they want to jump in, they'll see a conversation happening, and people are people. Once they start seeing other people do it, they'll jump in and participate as well.
The list is too long to respond in 140 characters. Tracy.
So that's just an example. There are other tools that you could use if you wanted to show a live stream like this. Now, keep in mind here, I am posting to this hashtag, but I can in no way control what content shows up on this hashtag. So you really have to monitor this closely to make sure that somebody doesn't come in and do what's called hashtag hijacking and put something completely inappropriate on this tag.
Like buy a vacuum cleaner, they just see you have a list of people paying attention, and they just use your hashtag to get it into your stream.
Okay, so with that, that brings us into the next
No,
section.
we are going to break the stream
Yeah.
for just a second. Okay, so we're going to go ahead for the people at home. We're going to break the live stream for a second, so we have a small chunk here for people to watch later, and we'll be back immediately. Okay, so everybody keep feeding stuff in. Okay.